Welcome to today's economics lesson. My name is Mr. Berry. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Good day again, grade 12 learners. Today, our knowledge area will be based on microeconomics. We'll be focusing on preparation of paper 2, your final exam. At the end of the lesson, learners will be able to know how the paper is structured and also how to respond to different question verbs. Our paper 2, we have two big chapters, which is your microeconomics and the contemporary economic issues. From the microeconomics, we find three units, your perfect competition, imperfect competition, and the market failure. From the contemporary economic issues, my apologies, you find inflation, tourism, and environmental sustainability. So from both big chapters, we have 6 units, 3 from the microeconomics and 3 from the contemporary economic issues. Right, so we're going to look at questions that we find from our microeconomics, since today our focus is the microeconomics, and then you need to understand that your paper 2 is microeconomics and contemporary economic issues. However, today we're going to be focusing on microeconomics, and also what we are touching today, it is not the entire concept that we have. You need to look at your examination guideline, understand the perfect market, understand all the information that you need to understand on imperfect market, and also the market failure following the examination guideline. So these are example questions from previous question papers. Right, grade 12, you'll be given 5 minutes to complete your terminology. This is the type of question that you find on your 1.3. Right, your time will begin now. Then we look at our marking guideline. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. The first question was, when the average revenue is greater than the average cost of a firm, a situation where your AR is above the AC. When AR is above the AC, we are making economic profit. And then when AC is above, we are making economic loss. Where AC and AR are equal to each other, we are making a normal profit. A period of production where all costs could be changed, right? So we have two periods where all costs can be changed, or a period where there's at least one fixed cost. Where all costs can be changed, that is your long run period. An institution that investigate restrictive business practices to achieve equity in South African economy. So we have institutions, 3 of them, right? In competition policy, we have your competition commission, your competition tribunal, and your competition appeal court, right? And one of them, they investigate, which is your competition commission. After investigating, and then we have the tribunal where they are making judgment using the investigation from the competition commission, and then your appeal court is the final high court, right? Where if you're not happy with the judgment in the tribunal, then you can take it to the appeal court. A method of evaluating and comparing the social cost and the social benefit of a project. Right, so for us to do a project, and especially government, when they are running a project, they sometimes do what we call a cost benefit analysis. Financial support by the government to assist the production of goods and services, financial support, that will be subsidies. The additional cost to the society of external factors. So the cost that is now addition to the society. Remember, when you buy, it is your private cost. But then once it has negative externality, it becomes what now? There's an additional cost, and it becomes a social cost, because what? Private cost plus your external cost gives you what? A social cost. Now is the cost to the entire society who are not involved in that transaction at the first place. Right, we are shifting our focus to section B. This is your 2.1.1 question that we find, right? So where you are naming, where you are giving, right? So you have 6 questions, and where it's lower order question where you are naming, you'll be given 6 minutes to complete the activity, then we look at our marking guideline. Your time will begin now. Right, thank you so much, grade 12. Our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. Name 2 types of monopolies. Right, monopoly, it is where there's only one business selling a unique product. And then we have 2 types of monopoly. You have where there is artificial monopoly and natural monopoly. Artificial monopoly, is not, the reasons are not economical in nature. They are artificial. For example, they put license and patents to restrict others from entering. And then the natural monopoly, they are the economical in nature, meaning the cost of starting this business is so high that no individual other business want to enter the market because the developmental cost is too much. For example, natural monopoly will be Eskom, and an artificial monopoly example can be SABC. Right. Name any 2 types of profits that are made by a monopoly in a short run. A monopoly can make a normal profit and economic profit. In a long run, they can only make economic profit. So in a short run, they can make a normal profit or economic profit, but in a long run, they will only make economic profit. Why does a monopoly enjoy economic profit in a long run? Because it's the only seller. No one can enter the market and disturb them in their profit. Unlike in a perfect market and monopolistic, when they are enjoying economic profit in a short run because of the free entry, other businesses will enter the market, which will increase supply and reduce prices, then taking them back to a normal profit. So a monopoly will still enjoy economic profit because no one can enter the market. Name any 2 examples of industry in monopoly. Eskom, Transnet. Give 2 examples of sunk cost. So your sunk cost, once you spend, cannot be recovered. You have advertising and water and electricity. Give any 2 examples of perfect competitive market. Stock, security, exchange, your JSE, agricultural, industry. Lastly, name 2 types of inefficiencies. You have productive inefficiency, where you are not optimizing or using your resources in a more optimal way or to their full capacity. And you have allocative inefficiency, where you are not producing quantity and quality desired by the consumers. Right, so let's shift to our type of question that we find in 2.1.2, where you are now asked question that we need to apply why, what, how, right? But for 2 marks. Also, just to remind you, with this type of question that we just previously did, this one, if you decide to list 3, we are only going to mark the first 2, meaning if the third one was correct, we are not going to be looking at it because it will be a maximum. Let's take, for example, here, the first answer is KFC or restaurants, which is not an example of imperfect market, but the second answer is stock security and agriculture. So we are going to say wrong for this one and right for this one. And when you get to this right one, you put M for maximum. You've already written the 2. So please be precise and write 2, which are the correct answers. Okay, grade 12, you are given 6 minutes to complete question 1 to question 4. Then we look at our marking guideline. Time will begin now. Right, thank you so much. You are done writing. Let's look at our marking guideline. The first question was, why is demand curve of a perfect market horizontal? Our demand curve of a perfect market is like this, where D is equals to AR is equals to MI. Right, and then this is our price. Why is this demand curve horizontal or perfectly elastic? It is because they are price takers. So they all charge the same price. Where do they take their price? They take it from the market forces. All businesses charge the same price as they are price takers. Their price is determined through the interaction of demand and supply. So because they are price takers. Why is MR curve in a perfect market the same as the demand. So our MR is here in a perfect market. If you remember well, when it comes to your imperfect market like monopoly, D is here and MR lies below. But in a perfect market, MR and AR, they are the same. Each additional unit sold, remember what is marginal revenue? It is additional revenue for selling an additional unit. So each additional unit sold, it is sold at the same price. If you sold 2, it will be the same price, this price here. If you sold 3, it's still the same price. So an additional unit that you sell is still the same price. Why? Because you're a price taker. So let's make an easy example, right? So a marginal revenue is an additional revenue. So I'm selling apple, right? The first apple I'm selling is at 2 rand because the market price is 2 rand, right? So the first apple I sell is 2 rand. What is my total revenue? What is my marginal revenue? My total revenue will be 2 rand. My marginal revenue will be 2 rand. Now I'm selling an additional apple. What is my total revenue? My total revenue now is 4 rand. What is my marginal revenue? My marginal revenue will be 2 rand. That is additional revenue for selling an extra unit. And I sell the next apple. My total revenue is how much? Is 6 rand. What is my marginal revenue? 2 rand. So you see, for each additional unit I'm selling, my marginal revenue remains the same because I'm a price taker. I can't now say because I'm having 6 apples, I'm going to sell this one at 3 rand, or I'm going to reduce the price to 150. It does not serve me because I'm a price taker. I need to sell at the price that I got from the market. So each unit that you sell extra, the marginal revenue remain the same. Why would a firm under monopolistic competition rely on advertising? Remember, monopolistic competition is so many businesses but selling differentiated product, right? So why do they rely on advertising to increase market share? One, they cannot use price to compete. They are non-price competition market. If they use price, it will result in what? In a price war, right? So they need to use advertising. So the question is, why must they rely on advertising to increase market share? What is market share? To make more people to buy from them. Firms under monopolistic competition use advertising to highlight the unique features of their product. If you see the unique feature of that product, it may attract you to want to buy that product. And it builds a strong brand loyalty among consumers. So if you know what's unique about that product, can be as simple as a washing powder. If Omo is advertising that their product makes the clothes more whiter, it is going to attract more consumer to buy that product. So it's just for them to increase what the market share, to have more people buying from there. When would it be the best option for a business to shut its operation? For a business, especially here, we're talking about our perfect market, because in a perfect market, we have a graph called a shutdown graph. Right. So for us to have a shutdown graph, it is when now we introduce a shutdown graph. Is where we introduce, you have, let's see, your AR here, you have your AC, and you have your MC. Once we introduce this graph called ABC, once we introduce ABC, we know we are about to shut down. Where we cannot afford our average variable cost, we need to do what? We need to shut. When the business cannot meet its average variable cost, when it cannot meet its average variable cost, you must shut down. Why do you continue the business when you cannot afford your variable cost? Let's look at a business that you're not advising to shut down. A business in a short run that has a fixed cost. Even though you shut down, you have to still pay that cost. For example, rent. If you have taken a lease for 12 months, and then around your 8th month, and you see that you are not really making a profit, we wouldn't advise you to shut down because you still have to pay the fixed cost. But in a long run, where you're only having a variable cost, A variable cost is the cost that you are spending when you are actually producing, right? So let's make an example of you transporting people, putting petrol in your car. So for you to move from point A to B, it costs you 1,000, but when you calculate the money that they are paying you, it's 800. It means that you cannot uh, cover the variable cost, which is the money for you to move from point A and B. Then you can shut down with another better idea for your business. Right, grade 12, we are shifting our focus to a data response question, an example of data response question. So the first three questions I said this way we get our marks, which is easy marks to score. And then we have question 4 and 5. So grade 12 will be given 8 minutes to complete our data response question. Then we look at our marking guideline. Your time will begin now. Right, thank you so much for completing the activity. Now let's look at our marking guideline. Identify the output that yields the best revenue. So looking at this output, remember it is what? It is your quantity. Which one it has the best or the highest revenue? It is quantity 5 at the revenue of 30. Give the value in the table that represent revenue, change in revenue divided by change in output. So change in TR over change in quantity. Which one represents that? That is what? Your MR. MR is equals to what? Change in total revenue over the change in quantity. So answer it is marginal revenue. Briefly describe the term average revenue. Average revenue may be defined as amount of money a firm receives for selling each unit of its product. Or you can say it is your total revenue divided by your quantity. Or you can say it is a revenue for selling each unit, right? A revenue for selling each unit. Explain the nature of the product sold by monopolies. Monopolies sell which product? It is a unique product. Monopolies sell unique product with no close substitute. Why is it possible for monopolies? Remember, monopolies, they are the only seller, they set their own price. But why is it possible for them to make economic loss in a short run? Right, this is a beautiful question that you can get as a 8-mark question as an additional part to an essay, right? Why is it possible for monopolies to make economic loss? So we can find this as 8-mark, and they can even be direct to say, why does Eskom as a monopoly make loss, economic loss? Then you need to answer based on the industry that they are giving you, right? In a short run, the monopolist is unable to change all the inputs, so cost of production is still high. Right? Maybe because the high developmental cost at a short run, they are higher than the revenue. The demand for a product may be not sufficient to yield profit. Remember, as much as monopoly is the only business selling a unique product, we are able to reduce demand. As we are able to reduce demand, even though there's no close substitute, we can learn better habits of switching off lights, switching off the geyser, using the gas stove. So we are trying to demand less of electricity. So if the demand is less, then they'll make loss. Right, so we are shifting to the next data response question. You read the extract and then you answer the question that follows from question 1 to question 5. I will give you 8 minutes, then we look at the marking guideline. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at the marking guideline. Identify the competition commission that passes judgment. Competition institution that passes judgment. That would be your competition tribunal. Remember, the competition commission, they investigate. The tribunal will pass judgment. If you're not happy with the judgment, we go to the appeal court. Name any one type of collusion. You have overt, tested, or you can say price leadership, you can say cartel, you can say explicitity, you can say implicitity. Your overt, this is where it is open, they sit and discuss prices. Your tested is the price leadership, where they choose one leader who change the price and then the rest will follow. Briefly describe the term collusion. Collusion is an agreement between businesses to fix price and quantity with the aim of limiting competition. Remember, when we say briefly describe, yes, you are not defining, but there are key things that you are looking for. Like, for example, here we want to see fixing prices. That is collusion, where they are fixing prices and quantity. Then that is the key things that we are looking for when we describe collusion. 4. Explain the purpose of using non-price competition in an oligopoly. Non-price competition, it means they are not using price to compete, because using price to compete will result in price war. So to avoid price war, we'll use other factors like advertising, branding, door-to-door services. Those are other factors than price. Oligopolies prefer to compete on the basis of product differentiation and efficient service and other non-price competition strategies, because price competition can result in a price war, and price war is not beneficial to anyone. Price war, it means that I decrease my price, you decrease your price, the next decrease their prices, and then when we've all decreased the prices and I see that I'm still not winning, I decrease my price, and we keep on decreasing the prices, which we may end up losing profit and losing the revenue. Question number 5. Why do banks often collude although it is illegal in South Africa? Why do you find the question can change to anything, or they can say, why do business even collude even though they know it's illegal? So sometimes collusion, it avoids uncertainties. Remember, it's few businesses. Sometimes they are uncertain about what the other business will do. Remember, oligopoly, they are having a mutual dependency. So they may be so concerned that other businesses doing things differently. So they want to collude even though they know it's illegal. Collusion between banks occurs because it is an effort to reduce uncertainty. They agree on price they are going to demand and quantities they are going to produce. They enjoy advantage of limiting competition and making it difficult for other businesses to enter the market. So they want to charge prices that they will make more revenue, and also limiting competition so that they are the only people who can enjoy, and that can result in a collective monopoly. Collusion between banks occurs. They want to limit supply in order to raise price and maximize the profit. Right, so those are the answer for the data respond question that we just did. We are moving to the other data respond question. You have question 1 to question 5. Then we look at our marking guideline. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. Identify the type of product offered by firms in the above market, right? So when we look at the above market, it is a monopolistic market. The question is asking type of product, so you can have a differentiated product. Name one example of product that firms produce in this market. A differentiated product can be burger restaurants, example of what restaurants are example of, monopolistic supermarkets are example of monopolistic, but here they are looking for a product, not a business. Briefly describe the term marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is an extra income a firm earns from selling an extra unit. If you discuss it as a total revenue divided by the change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity, you'll be correct. But if you write it as a formula, you'll only get 1 mark. Question number 4. Explain the impact of new entrants in the market. If there's new entry in the market, what will happen to the profit? The new firms increase the number of competitors, which can reduce firms' market share. If the market share is reduced, it means that the profit will also decrease. How do firms maximize their profit? Firms maximize profit by producing where MC is equals to MR. our profit maximization is where MC is equals to MR. But if you are looking at a perfect market on this graph, where you are looking at TR and TC, we maximize our profit where there is the widest distance between TR and TC. They carefully control cost and set price that matches demand to maximize the difference between the total revenue and total cost. They will set prices where it can measure demand, where the total revenue is more high than the total cost. Right, grade 12. Before we move to the next question, I'll give you 5 minutes water break and then we come back. Right, welcome back. So we are going to move to our 8-mark question. The first question that we have says, how can the government discourage firms from engaging in anti-competitive behavior? How can the government discourage other businesses from engaging in practices that are restricting others from taking part in the market? Right, so you have 8 marks, meaning you need to write about 4 full sentences for you to score the marks. You are given 5 minutes, then we look at our marking guideline. Right, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. The question was, how can the government discourage firms from engaging in anti-competitive behavior? Competition policy in South Africa, enforced mainly by Competition Commission, has actively investigated and penalized firms involved in the practice of price fixing. So businesses that are found fixing prices and colluding are discouraged because they are investigated, and if they are found guilty, they are charged. Through large fines and legal action against cartels, it has sent a strong message to anti-competitive behavior will not be tolerated. The policy has also blocked or placed condition on measures. Those who are merging, they are also regulated. Remember, collusion is restricted, so those who are found guilty, they are charged, and then those who are merging, they need to get a consent first from the commission before they can merge. By promoting fair competition, it has encouraged new businesses to enter the market, which is more beneficial to the consumers, because if there's more supplier, price will be low. It has helped to create more dynamic and competitive economy, protecting both consumers and small businesses so that they're able now to come into the market without the fear of powerful firms abusing their economic power. Right, the next question, briefly discuss allocative and productive inefficiencies. Right, so you are going to have 4 marks for allocative inefficiency and 4 marks for productive inefficiency. You are given 5 minutes, then we look at our marking guideline. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. We are discussing productive and allocative inefficiency. Productive inefficiency is when business do not maximize output from given input. There's a room to reduce costs without producing fewer goods or without producing a low quality product. So it means that productive inefficiency, they are not maximizing the capacity that they have to produce. Then allocative inefficiency, the product mix does not reflect consumers' taste, so they are not producing what consumer prefer. Businesses are allocated resources inefficiently and produce goods and services that consumers do not want. The quantities required by consumers are not available. Next question, discuss the hybrid structure of monopolistic. So a monopolistic is known as a hybrid market structure because of the combination of other markets. Monopolistic has a combination of a perfect market and monopoly. So you are discussing that for 8 marks, then look at our marking guideline. You are given 5 minutes. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. We're discussing a monopolistic as a hybrid market structure. The monopolistic competition market has a hybrid structure because it combines both features of monopoly and a perfect market. Like in a perfect competition, there are many firms and there is free entry and exit, which keeps a long run economic profit at zero. So just like in a perfect market, there are many sellers and the entry is free, and the profit, the normal profit, they are making a normal profit in a long run. However, like a monopoly, each firm sells slightly differentiated product, giving it some control over price. So just like a monopoly, a monopolistic has a control over price. The differentiation creates a brand loyalty and means firms face a downward sloping demand cap. So just like in a monopoly, there is a downward sloping demand cap. As a result, monopolistic competition blends competitive pressure with individual market power from a product uniqueness. Right. So that is as a proving that monopolistic, it has the characteristic of a perfect market, and it has the characteristics of what? A monopolistic competition. Right. Our next question will be, explain why governments sometimes proceed with a project even though the private costs exceed the private benefit in a cost benefit analysis. So when the government does the cost benefit analysis, remember we need to go with a project where the social benefit are more. So government does not really care more about what? The private benefit. So you are explaining why you think that government will continue with the project. Like for example, a project where there is a, a Saturday classes for a school, and then when government does the calculation, the private costs are more than the private benefit. Why would the government still consider that project and proceed with it? Right? You have 8 marks. That means you need 4 full sentences, and then we'll be looking at our marking guideline. You have 5 minutes. Your time will begin now. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our marking guideline. Explain why the government proceed with the project even though the private costs exceed the private benefit. The primary objective is to provide public goods and services. Social cost and social benefit are also considered when deciding a project, not only private cost and private benefit. Services are important as an existence to the community, so those services are really needed, so government won't only focus on the private benefit. When a need for infrastructure is necessary but might not have any benefit in terms of profit, e.g. building a community center or a bridge, government will still do it because there is a social benefit to it. Restructuring adds to the welfare of the community at large and is non-excludable to anyone using it. So usually they are providing public goods and services that are non-excludable. So regardless of it not making much of a profit, but you still benefit the society. Right. Our last question on 8 marks will be, with the aid of a full labeled graph, explain the kinked demand cap. So you're going to draw the graph for 4 marks and explain a kinked demand cap for 4 marks. Your time will begin now. You have 5 minutes. Right, grade 12, our time is up. Let's look at our kinked demand cap. So for drawing this kinked demand cap, for correctly labeling, it's 1 mark of your axis. Correct shape of the kinked demand cap, 1 mark. Showing the label of the kink as 1 mark. And then showing the change in the quantity, it will be 1 mark. The change in quantity here, there's a decrease here, there will be an increase, then that will be a 1. Right. D to DE, when the price changes from the market from 25 to 30, there is a drastic decrease in quantity from 400 to 200, meaning that we'll be losing on the market share and the revenue. Therefore, DE segment is elastic. This part, it is elastic. It's more sensitive to price because the change in price from 25 to 30 result in a great change in quantity demanded. And then from this one, E to D, a decrease in price from 25 to 20 does not really necessarily increase much on demand. So that one, it is not as sensitive, so it is price inelastic. So the decrease of price from 25 to 20 does not bring more people to buy. It's from 400 to 410, so it is more inelastic. Right. So grade 12 for our essay, let's do an example of an essay where you are discussing in detail factors that affect the misallocation of resources in a market failure. Remember, you have 2 marks for introduction, 26 for body, 2 marks for conclusion, and then you are given 10 marks. It is any other higher order question. Let's look at the 30 marks that we can score from this essay, excluding the additional part. Remember, when you write your essay, you always have an additional part, and before you write the conclusion, you must write the additional part. Let's look at our responses for the essay. You firstly describe what is market failure for an introduction. Market failure occurs when market forces of demand and supply do not ensure that the correct quantity of goods and services are produced to meet demand at the right price. So introduction is a lower order, that will be 2 marks. Then you move to your main body where you are having the headings, externalities, missing markets, right? So you by writing all these headings, you get 1 mark each. So the first one there is externalities. These are known as a spillover effect to a third party, which is not directly involved in the production processes. Externalities in production and consumption often exist. Output is usually based on the private cost and benefit, which now create a market failure because we don't look at them negative and positive externalities. Right? You can discuss the negative and positive externality when you are writing your essay. And then imperfect competition. In a market economics, competition is often impaired by power. Some have more power, which they are now abusing the economic power. Power often lies to the greater extent which producer then with the consumers. Producers are the ones that are having more power than consumers. Most businesses operate under condition of imperfect market that allows producers to restrict output, produce less, and then charge high prices which exploit consumers. Lack of information is one of the reasons that is market failure. Consumers, workers, and entrepreneurs do not always have the information. In imperfect markets, information is not full. Consumer, although advanced in technology, increase the amount of information to which people have access. They obviously do not have perfect information. Even though we have technology where there's information, the information is not as perfect. Workers may not be aware of job opportunities, resulting in unemployment, which is a market failure because we have a labor market. Entrepreneurs may lack information on where to buy product at a cheaper price, which would result in them producing at a high price because of incorrect information. Immobility of factors of production. Factors of production may not be mobile according to the changes in supply and demand. For example, it will take time for a labor to change from one occupation to the next, or the geographical area, labor not being willing to move from one place to the next place, even though there is demand. Physical capital, such as factory buildings and infrastructure, they may not be movable or take time to be moved, same as this capital lasts for many years but cannot be moved or changed to the demand. Regardless of the demand changing, it may not change to the demand. Imperfect distribution of income and wealth. We are in a country where there is disparities between those who have and those who don't have. The most important shortcomings of market system is that it is neutral regardless of the inequality that exists. Negotiated, we are buying at the same price regardless of your background. Public goods or missing market, right? So some markets are not there even though there is demand. So even though there is demand, they may not be provided by the private businesses. Then government needs to come in. So you see that the markets are failing. So some markets can only form under certain conditions, and when conditions are upset, markets struggle to exist. Public goods are not provided by the market mechanism because producers cannot withhold the goods for non-payment, since there is often no way of measuring how much a person consumes. For example, a street light, the government cannot provide that, or the market cannot provide that. Street lights, police services, then those markets are missing, then the market is failing, then government must come in and provide the public goods and services. In conclusion, it's any higher order information. The government is trying to safeguard the interests of the community and improve the efficiency in market, but there's still more to be done. So this is any higher order a conclusion as long as it's not a repetition. And remember, for your essay, there's always an additional part. After the main body, additional part of any question that they're asking you, then there is conclusion. And then again, remember, grade 12, we have 6 essays that we need to prepare for our question 5, if you are going to answer question 5 in your paper 2, right? So let's ensure that we understand the essay where we are discussing in detail monopoly or equilibrium position of a monopoly. We understand your essay on the market failure, the one that we just did, misallocation of resources, the consequences of market failure. Oligopoly was assessed last year, and the perfect market was also assessed this year during May-June examination. Right. For our homework, you're going to compare and construct the market structure of monopolistic competition with a perfect market. Additional part, how does the profit maximizing rule help firms determine price under imperfect market? And then you have your introduction and your conclusion to make it 40. Right, grade 12. So today we've looked at the market structures, we've looked at the market failure, and as part of the microeconomics, you need to follow examination guideline and read what is it that is required from you. So for each statement or point that we have in examination guideline, you must be able to answer for 1 mark, for 2 mark, for 4 mark, for 8 mark, or for 10 mark additional part. All the best for your paper 2 examination. Thank you so much for joining in today's class. I'll see you next time. Keep well.